Okay, let's start the meeting.
All right. So we're going to talk about the draft goals and strategies for the housing plan and get them ready for a first public forum. And in case there's questions about this zoning suggestion around specifically mentioning R60 and R40, yes, we could take those out. I was just like, and I think I attached here the zoning map. I was just trying to think about here, were there specific zones in which, for example, 2 families or 3 families would make more sense than others? Like,
The other thing, Jocelyn, is just so you, for your information, on planning and zoning, one of the things that we've been talking about and that I've been pushing for is to look at our current zoning map with the soils map that I don't think's ever really been done, because we have some, small lots over in the place where the septic and the waters, there's a lot of water and the septic is not good. So we talked about, that's one of the things on the plan of conservation and development, is to look at the soils map over the zoning map and see if we need to redo the zoning map. So this could change.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of want to take out the R40 and R60 and leave it open to any area of town.
Okay. I mean, that's fine with me if that's the direction you guys want to go in.
Anybody else think about that?
I think if we start broader, we could always, it could always be narrowed once we get reaction. But I agree with you, Veronica, that why start narrow? On the other hand, you want to limit it to our zones. I mean, because we have commercial, light industry zone and commercial and.
So I think maybe if we took out mentioning middle housing in our, just say middle housing zones, we can take out R60 and R40, and then where it says consider allowing multifamily housing in the towns. Do we even have to say that in just those zones? Are we only going to let people have that in those 2 zones?
I mean, it's pretty common to, if you're gonna, it's pretty common to not necessarily allow multifamily in every zone in your town. So
Okay.
I was just trying to think about, where does more housing density make sense? And in some towns where it makes sense is in the, village center, the town center areas, which are your commercial districts.
All right, then I'd be fine with just taking out the R60 and R40 and leaving it the way it is then.
Okay, so do you want to, this has a question mark after it, but should we also see how people feel about considering allowing multifamily in the commercial districts?
Yeah, leave everything the way it is and just take out that R60 and R40.
Okay.
Now, would this middle housing be by like a special exception only, or would it be a broad rewrite of the regulations to allow it in any of those zones?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, that
would be a big concern.
That's kind of, that would be up to the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is kind of, again, trying to lay out some strategies that the Planning and Zoning Commission would have to, I mean, as you know, the devil's in the detail of all these zoning regulations. This isn't saying as of right, and you could say in here by special permit, if meeting all, I mean, obviously they would have to be able to have a, health district approved septic system and well.
But I think a lot of people who live here for the reason that, there's a lot of single family homes.
Right.
And that's what they moved in next to.
Yep.
And not to middle housing.
Right.
I mean, I'm lucky enough to live on a nice parcel of land. I have my neighbors right there, but I really didn't move or stay in Morris to live in kind of almost an urban type of place. We're here for the elbow room.
Right.
So the only tricky thing that I'll say back to that, Tom, in this forum is that And I don't know if you caught our, I don't know, if any of you were on that, where we reviewed the regional housing needs assessment, but so many of our towns have such a high percentage of their housing stock is single family detached, large lot, 3+ bedroom houses. And, again, I understand it. But also that's part of the challenge of having a diverse range of housing options. So, I mean, that's the reason we don't have them in Morris.
Mhm.
So I guess it's just kind of recognizing there's that. And that's sort of why I suggested limiting it to certain zones, for example. And you could take out the middle housing idea. You could, these are
Yeah,
just,
I mean,
these
it's
are
crowded
just,
over, it's crowded over here in R60, R40 already. I just think to start popping multifamily homes in over here, I'd be wanting to move.
right. I mean, again, you could, the zoning regulation could require it be on a 5-acre parcel.
That,
You
that
could,
sounds, yes,
you
that
could
sounds
talk
fair.
about, by special permit. You could talk about doing just duplexes, just allowing 2 families or duplexes, which
Mhm.
a lot of our towns already have, for example.
So it's
So,
we're gonna have to make a planning and zoning, what you're saying is gonna basically, we're gonna have to update the regulations of how this is all gonna come about.
well, if something like this stays is in the housing plan, it would fall to Planning and Zoning Commission to look at this action step and think about it and work out all the details and then hold a public hearing and decide whether it wants to adopt that zoning regulation or not.
Yep.
So this is just like the first thinking about what are some solutions to the housing challenges in Morris, and some of the solutions are zoning solutions.
Well, one solution, and I think it was talked about today at the COG, was the bill going through the legislature where you get the in-law apartment or accessory apartment as a matter of right. But that
Yeah,
won't
I
help
heard
us
about that.
though with our low-income housing or affordable housing. Do you think
Right,
they
that
could
won't-
tie something to that bill where there's an incentive for restricted, income housing type of thing?
Oh, you mean, Tom,
Probably
like for the homeowner to have some kind of incentive to keep that apartment deed restricted to make sure it's an affordable apartment?
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds good.
It doesn't really work.
no?
Why?
Well, so I worked for like 5 years on accessory apartment program. We actually had funding from a community foundation to help homeowners who wanted to create an accessory apartment.
Mhm.
Nobody wants to deed restrict their unit.
Oh,
It's just, nobody wants to do it.
or a
Right.
state agency that would oversee perhaps if the homeowner wanted to enter into a program with the agency,
Yeah.
had a restricted income, apartment in their dwelling.
Yeah, I mean, this is coming up as an idea in some of our towns, but
Yeah,
it requires an infrastructure that we don't have right now. So
My two favorite, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wouldn't want to put too many eggs in that basket.
Yeah,
But let me just explain very briefly, like, as you can see, this is organized by, creating first-time home buyer options, downsizing options, and then rental opportunities, and then keeping seniors in their homes. Really, most of these downsizing options, pretty much everything in this section, is more about having the market create different housing options, but not necessarily ones that are going to count towards your state approved affordable housing stock. So all of these suggestions are likely not going to get you anywhere in terms of what qualifies as affordable housing in your town. It just creates different housing options. So, you know, again, this brings us back to that question about whether you just want to focus on, you know, what are the, I mean, we could take this whole middle section out and say we just want to focus on first-time home buyer options and supporting some additional rental opportunities at Eldridge or near Eldridge. You know, I mean, everything in here, you know, again, if you want the market to create some more housing options, you got to talk about zoning changes.
Mm.
If you want to create for example, a Morris Housing Trust, a private nonprofit, or if you want to support the Morris Housing Authority with creating more rental options, that's different. That doesn't rely on the market to create those options. So
Mhm.
I just kind of wanted to explain that. And, you know, you do have this town-sponsored and multifamily regulation that's kind of meant to address, I think, like the Morris Housing Authority. So that's kind of in a different category of, you know, when you're thinking about your zoning regulations and what they do and don't allow. So like, I totally understand being worried about changing zoning regulations and having it, especially in every zone. So I just want to acknowledge that and say, I'm just telling you what you can do. If everyone says they want the market to create this stuff, typically, and the reason the market isn't creating it is because the zoning regulations don't allow it. So, but again, in my view, this is your plan. We could take out that whole middle section and just focus on first-time home buyer rental options and keeping seniors in their homes.
Well, so far, Jocelyn, my two favorite ideas are the first time home buyer thing with like Habitat for Humanity, and I loved Ben Pletsky's idea of, you know, if we had a housing trust to pick up foreclosed properties, refurbish them and have them be affordable housing, you know, like they've done in some of the other Northwest towns. And that I think would ease people in town into the idea slowly enough and easily enough that it would fit into the town without them freaking out and saying, oh my God, there's apartments everywhere.
Yeah. Connie, before you go, do you have
Yes.
any?
Yeah, I kind of think the following. I think we should take that one whole section out about the downsizing. And I think that we should eliminate that area where we talk about zoning regulations, taking from a minimum of 5 down to 2 on that next one, because we're trying to sell something to the general public, and this
Yeah.
other way, it's too confusing for them. I don't think they would understand everything, but they'll understand first-time home buyer, keep seniors in their home, and affordable rentals. I think that's something we can work on.
Yeah.
That's only my opinion.
You know, yeah. And after we did that down the road, if people were more open to number that one we took out of there, we could always redo the plan. Right?
It's hard enough to get the zoning things changed anyway, you know.
Yeah.
I know, Veronica, but that's just my opinion. I like the idea, as you said, about a housing trust and Habitat for Humanity, things like that. I mean, oh geez, I gotta go. Sorry.
It's okay.
Thanks
And
very much. And then
thanks, Connie.
maybe talk about the Eldridge, okay, Jocelyn?
Okay.
Okay, bye.
And
Bye.
the first time home buyer thing, Jocelyn, small single family homes. One of the girls I work with just bought a house in a day that went on a market, a big house, and she put her house on the market, which is smaller, you know, a small ranch. Within 24 hours, she had 100 appointments. In 2 days, she had 16 offers. She sold her house in a day and a half to a first-time newlywed couple looking for a first-time home. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, that's the weird real estate world we're in right
Oh,
now.
it's crazy. It is crazy. She's in shock, you know? I mean, it's just, whew.
I mean, I don't know how long that's gonna last, but,
And they offered more than, you know, than she was asking, and she's still she's in extreme shock.
so what do you guys, is everyone on the call here in agreement that we should take out the downsizing options section?
Yes.
What about
Well,
devastating?
I'd like to consider at least duplexes someplace in this. I mean, that's not such a shock, is it? I mean, we have some grandfathered structures like that in town. They don't
Mhm.
like, you know, they don't stand out. People aren't outside of them with pitchforks or anything. As far as I know. But, you know, I guess, you know, I defer to Tom and Veronica as to what they think is feasible. But I'd ask them to whether they think it's feasible versus whether, you know, it's their number one thing that makes them feel excited and happy. But
Well,
I
we
think
could
we need,
also, we could get feedback on it at the forum. You know, we could throw out there the idea of duplexes and see what people say.
Yeah, I think they might accept a duplex here and there.
Mhm.
What do you think, Tom?
because that's two birds with one stone, really, because you're talking about first time buyers and smaller, you know,
Mm,
living units. But yet they, you know, they look like a house or it's
mhm.
one structure on a lot.
Yeah. Well, and the other one that's like that is the next one, allowing conversion of the existing large houses to like to 2-family or 3-family homes.
Maybe if we didn't say multi-family, I think people think like, oh, 3-family house, and we said duplex. Duplex housing and related community facilities. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well,
I think we should at least get some feedback from fellow citizens on that.
Okay.
But Tom, you're about to speak.
no, I mean, just people need to realize, obviously, the more, you know, young families that come to our town, and it's great to have them. Hopefully they volunteer, they will be residents here, they're part of the fabric. And hopefully they're part of, you know, the PTOs and the fire company and the EMS and everything else. But with that does come expense for the town. It's simple. You
Yep.
may get $5,000 for a duplex in taxes, but what are you gonna pay for education too?
Mm,
So there's gotta be kind of a balance there that you don't wanna get overrun with too much multifamily housing because you won't be able to afford it.
right.
It's pretty simple. I mean, I have three children in the school. Well, I had 3 children in our school system. And Region 6 is about $25,000 a year per child. What do you get out of me for my property taxes per year?
Well, I do think you'll see studies that show that multifamily housing doesn't necessarily produce a lot of kids. Especially if it's, you know, 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom units.
Can you
But
restrict it?
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just,
I'm
those
just concerned.
are the studies that I've seen in terms of what, how many kids actually end up living in multifamily housing. But what if we keep, again, just for the purposes of throwing it out there, considering duplexes, considering allowing conversion of existing homes to 2 or 3 units, and then the accessory apartment regulations, and then take out the planned development district. I mean, that's already in your regulations anyway.
Okay.
Just for the purposes of, but I'm just throwing that out there as a proposal on. So I'm taking out the multifamily stuff from that section.
Okay.
What do you, oh, it's 6 o'clock already. Do you guys have any questions about any of these?
Yeah, so the one with the Morris Land Trust, it's, you know, seeing that thing in red with White Memorial, I'd want to tweak the reference to the land trust, or at least consider it. Similarly, that if someone's coming to us because they've got, you know, a piece of land with high conservation value, it would be conflict of interest, frankly, for the land trust to say, oh, never mind, no, don't conserve it, let's build a duplex on it.
Right,
Mm,
yeah,
If someone were
Yeah.
to come with that to us saying, I really want to, you know, do something with the land, I love the idea of a tax deduction, and we go look at the land, we say, well, it's not bad, but there's nothing, it doesn't float our boat, where it doesn't have high conservation value.
right,
What you should talk to the Morris Housing Trust or,
Right.
The
Yeah.
satellite parcel.
yeah. So, well,
yeah,
no,
and
that,
that's actually why I put that in there, because of it was the Steep Rock Preserve, which is, you know, basically the land trust entity in Washington. They were offered a parcel and it didn't have any conservation value. It, you know, it wasn't attached to any of their other, or
Mhm.
linked to any of their
Mhm.
other properties. So at that point, they said, well, what about the Washington Community Housing Trust? And so that person ended up donating the whole parcel to the housing
Yeah,
trust instead.
exactly. So you just illustrated my point better than I could.
So I could add, take that high with it, parcels that do not have high conservation value, and stick that up and.
Yeah, and just say that we would refer potential donors when appropriate because of lack of high conservation value to a Morris Housing Trust or whatever. You know, you probably know the language better than me.
Yeah, that's perfect, Ben.
Is it worth asking I mean, I know White Memorial, I don't know, I guess I don't know how much of their land is permanently protected, if any of it.
Technically, none of it is, because if they were to be taken over by a bunch of people who said, you know, we're tired of this conservation shtick, let's put up a huge golf course and a resort and a casino and a blah, 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 they could do it. There's nothing that stops them. They're a private, you know, nonprofit run by a board of directors. And
Yeah,
hopefully that'll never happen. But that's why it blew my mind when I realized that, because you look at the map and they're not in the conserved color.
Yeah.
Nope.
well,
They-
maybe I'll take this off for now to not get anyone too worked up about it, but
Yeah, maybe
I
that's
think
good.
if there is a Morris Housing Trust someday, they could. I'm just wondering again, if the White Memorial Foundation had, again, some 2-acre parcel with low conservation value that's broken, you know, or no conservation value that's
They-
not anywhere near any of their other land.
They have done that in the past. They've sold
Okay.
off parcels of their property over on East Shore Road.
Okay,
They were kind of detached from their main parcel.
right,
So they did sell those off actually directly on the waterfront too. So.
And
it
they've
has
donated
helped.
the land that, you know, the community field is on 209. They donated the land that, you know,
Well, that was a swap.
well, that was a swap.
uh,
Yeah.
well, so should we mention them in here or just take
Mhm.
that out for now?
I think you
I
can
would
mention
take it
them.
out.
Well, okay.
And you
But
guys
I
gotta
don't know.
You have to
I think
arm
it might-
wrestle.
I think it might freak people out.
Tom, you're the tiebreaker. Take it out or leave it in.
Well, they've had history of, selling property and donating property in the past that didn't meet. In fact, they did a land swap with a resident that lives on 209 right near Jocelyn. They swapped a piece of property that he owned across the street from my mother for property. So they're kind of in the business of doing this already. I mean,
Okay,
I
so
don't
what
know.
if I say work with the Morris Land Trust and White Memorial? Well, I don't know. I'll try to figure out a different.
Yeah, if you could make it a little vaguer, but I think it's important to have them listed. You can make it vague.
Right.
You know, and then once there's a housing trust or local Habitat for Humanity or whatever,
it may be,
they would follow up.
maybe worth a talk with Lucas Hyder to, before White Memorial's name is put out there,
Yeah.
to kind of get a, run by on him.
Again, I think if you already had a housing trust ready to receive things, it'd be one thing, but since you really don't, this is just kind
Yeah.
of planting the idea of
Yep.
partnerships.
Well, then maybe you could, if you think this is not too vague as to be worthless, you could say something like, and the second box would say encourage private giving of land or funding to a Morris housing form, blah, 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 including, via partnerships with existing town-wide organizations to deal with land, such as Morris Land Trust and White Memorial. You could do something like that if you wanted
State
to.
of
Or you could just
Connecticut.
leave it in the second box the way it is. And I'm happy to talk to Lucas if you all want me to.
I wouldn't
Okay,
want
I'll
him to
check.
be, blindsided.
Mhm.
Well, maybe I'll try to put it in that more vague way that you just suggested for now anyway.
Mhm.
Well,
Um,
would you like me to reach out to Lucas and just mention that we're looking at this kind of possibility down the road as a possibility? We just like to have the name out there, or do you want me to hold off?
I mean, I don't think it would hurt necessarily. If you're
I don't
willing
think it
to
would hurt.
do
I don't
it.
think it would hurt either. I mean, I'm fine with Lucas. I just,
All right.
so I'll have a very vague conversation with him. How's that?
Okay, vague is good. Tom, do you already have a conveyance fee in town?
I wish we did this past year.
I
Boy, we
know.
loaded up that budget pretty good.
Can you do it retroactively?
I tell you, the conveyance fee in 2021 helped grow our surplus incredibly. It was amazing how much money was brought in. I mean, that was turned over to a housing trust, of course, but what the town gathered it was amazing. It really brought in a lot of money. And it still is.
Wait, are you talking about Morris?
Pardon me?
I thought I asked you if you had a conveyance fee and you said you don't.
Well, we do, but we don't have a portion of that that's dedicated going to, like Goshen does.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. Okay, so you're comfortable with leaving that in to just,
I like the idea. I saw what's happening in Goshen there. They've utilized those funds to purchase properties, and I don't think it would be a hard sell in Morris. I don't know why it would be.
okay.
Oh.
So I don't know if you guys want to talk about any of those other ones, but we've talked about additional units at Eldridge.
Mhm.
And I will take out, unless you're opposed, I'll just take this out about changing the
Yeah.
zoning regulations.
Yep. Yeah, for now.
I think if it needs to happen later,
it
I was
will.
just, again, thinking about a potential 2-acre parcel. But we'll take that out for now. I don't think it's critical it be in there necessarily.
Well, the state
Um,
may take it out for us.
Mm.
Why do you say that, Tom?
Well, the what's being proposed, some of the ideas in the legislature, hopefully they will not come through.
Well, you know that they took that whole section out of that bill before they
Yeah,
moved it along, so none of that's in there anymore.
not this year.
Yeah. All right, and then keeping seniors in their homes, I think, is not super controversial.
No, I don't think I think that's good.
And I don't know if Kristen, you're there. I don't know if there's any other things that you can think of that would be helpful for keeping seniors in their homes.
Well, you made mention of, adding ramps or things of that nature. Changing zoning to make that a little easier.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Okay.
And then, I am a resource here as a municipal agent to assist seniors in town with what other agencies are out there that can help keep them in their homes safely as well.
I didn't know that, Kristen. I wonder if people know that.
Yeah, I guess it's a little known fact. One of my many titles.
That's awesome.
Thank
So
you.
should I put that in here somehow?
Uh,
Like, increase awareness that Kristen can answer all of your
Yeah. Yeah.
staying in your home.
oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. You can maybe, if you want to make mention that, we do have a municipal, I don't know if you have to name me, do you? Can we just say there's a municipal agent in town that's available to assist seniors
Yeah.
instead of
We'll just put
putting
we'll
me
just
out
put
there
your
like
pic-
that?
we'll just put your picture there.
Oh, I know. God, no. Don't look at me. Don't talk to me. That's my motto. No.
So wait, if I say municipal agent, I don't know that people have any idea where they should go to contact that person. Should I say municipal agent at the senior center?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that would work for me. That's
Okay.
still slightly anonymous, but informative at the same time.
Okay.
I would say most of the seniors probably already know who you are.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. That's
Well, and I
okay.
guess, are there any other, I know you do senior bus trips and stuff, but I mean, are there any other services that you feel like you see seniors needing that could help them not have to move to assisted living or?
We
not
do
have to-
participate with the Northwest Connecticut Elderly Nutrition Project. So we are a congregate meal site, pre-COVID. We are a congregate meal site, so we provide lunches to seniors in the community 5 days a week on a reduced rate. So, that's definitely helpful in keeping seniors home and not become isolated. They're allowed to sit with their peers and enjoy a meal. I mean, there's really something to be said for that, honestly, especially if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
living alone. So yeah, that's a really important piece of what we do here, along with, we have regular weekly activities and events going on. I mean, every day pre-COVID. We're slowly bringing all of that back little by little, but it's not without a lot of anxiety, that's for sure.
Mm.
You're also looking into transportation alternatives too, probably.
Yeah, for sure. We traditionally had worked with Northwest Transit up in Torrington. They're charged with providing transportation to seniors in rural communities. So we had a really nice relationship for a long time. They would
Yeah.
provide Morris residents with transportation to doctor's offices or grocery shopping or pharmacy visits or whatever once
Yeah.
a week. And then I was also permitted to utilize the bus and do, entertainment excursions or kind of enrichment activities in Connecticut for my seniors. But obviously that all got squashed too. But I think that's also really important because again, it helps to avoid isolation and it contributes to socialization and just enjoyment of life, honestly, in general. And a lot of my seniors aren't comfortable driving, far distances or on the highway or whatever. So it's really
So-
tremendously received and very much missed, I have to say.
When did that stop?
That stopped during COVID, when COVID began.
Oh,
I
okay,
had
okay.
a year.
So after COVID, it should come back?
I hope so.
Okay.
I just learned from Tom today that there are some challenges that Northwest Transit is facing, but we are looking at, working with some of our other communities locally to see if we can't partner together and come up with other solutions.
Yep. Yeah, the senior bus trip stopped during COVID. The Northwest Transit kept going, but I think they have an image issue there. People don't know about them.
Mm.
Yeah.
They need to get the word out again. They're gonna have a new executive director or whatever they're gonna call the person
Yeah.
fairly soon. they gotta get the word out that, here's an option for people to get to their doctor's offices or go
Mhm.
shopping or whatever they have to do, work out. So hopefully that'll get out and more seniors be able to take advantage of it. It's just not seniors either. I think other people can take advantage of the bus too.
Yeah, I think
I
it's
find that
senior-
with my population that, especially in this rural area, they're just not used to the whole busing
Yeah.
system. You know, how it is where you might need to wait for the bus to pick you up, and there's other people that are gonna be on the bus and getting off the bus with you and, bring a book, and like, that's just not a concept that's familiar to people in rural communities. And they're
Yeah.
just really not comfortable with it, I find.
Yeah.
Really? Even if they rode a school bus as a kid?
I walked a mile to school both ways.
Oh,
in
and
the
how much
snow.
snow?
Plastic
Did
bags.
you have
on my feet,
electricity?
Don't you worry.
Me too, Kristen.
I know.
Probably for high school, I probably walked 2.5 miles.
Exactly. I'm right with you. From kindergarten until the day I graduated, I was on foot.
Well, 2 years we did get the bus, but we waited at the end of the street. We weren't picked up at the front of our house like kids are now.
Right. No door-to-door
Well,
service.
clearly,
God.
some people
Portal to
on the
portal.
steering committee have bus issues. I'm sorry that I poked that particular bear. I withdraw all comments.
Yeah, I'm
won't
not a
mention-
big bus fan.
I won't mention
Maybe-
both my parents were bus drivers, so.
Oh, no.
My father was a school bus driver too, yeah. Except if I go on the bus, I have to be like Sheldon Cooper and wear bus pants.
All right, so I'm gonna move us along.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry.
We have another
So,
meeting at
Are
7
we
o'clock.
comfortable enough with what we've ended up with, that we
Mhm.
could think about a date for our next public forum? And I'll tell you what I'll do ahead of time is, I'm thinking we'll do it by Zoom and we'll have polling questions. Like we can, go over these as draft ideas for discussion and then have polling questions where we get feedback. And then obviously we can also open it up for other verbal feedback. But what do you guys think about just trying to think of a date in May to do this so we can keep the ball rolling?
I have planning and zoning on the first Wednesday and the second Monday are the only days I can't make it.
Is this another public forum you're talking about?
Yeah, so the idea is to get a little more feedback on these specific strategies before formulating them into a whole plan.
Okay.
Unless you guys want to do it differently. I mean, we could put it all in the final plan and just hold another public forum on the whole plan.
No, I think we should have another forum. How many non-panel members did we have the last time? It was, there were some, but it wasn't a huge number.
The 20
let's do
something,
another
or-
one.
Yeah, 20 something, I think. That sounds-
The video did have 17 views on YouTube after it was posted, so
Good.
Oh,
I don't know how
Okay.
far along they went, but.
I think the more meetings that we do shows transparency. I think we should do it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I do. I was worried that maybe we'd be oversaturating people, but
Mm-mm.
I think transparency is important.
Because then the next public forum would be like, here's our draft plan.
Yep.
Tell us what you think of it with all the different sections, the housing needs, the strategies. And we'd be able to say, and we got your feedback at these other forums as well. I don't know, Tom, are you looking at the town calendar
No, I wasn't.
or can you?
Oh, probably.
I mean, the next meeting of this group is the 13th. I don't know if you feel like you want to have another meeting of this group to prepare. Again, I'm thinking we'll just, I would send you in advance the invitation and the, poll questions we would use and the presentation. I think Kristen will probably want to do the whole presentation herself.
We're great.
Only if you get her a hat that says municipal agent.
Oh, please, please. I'm getting pretty hip to like shutting the video off, so just be prepared for that.
When were you thinking?
I just think it'd be better to do it in May than June, so
The third week of May. 1, 2, 3. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday look pretty good right now.
That's the 17th, 18th, or 19th.
Oh, I'm sorry, the fourth week, 24th, 25th, 26th. Memorial Day is the 31st this year.
how about the 25th? That's a Tuesday.
I'm good.
7 o'clock again.
Will it be the same bat time, same bat channel?
Yeah,
So 7 to 8:30.
okay.
7 PM, right?
Yep.
Correct.
Ash, be quiet.
Okay. And then, so I'll obviously send you some things before our next meeting related to preparing for that. And obviously, if if any of you have other ideas about action steps you want the town to take, or things that you think you're rethinking whether they should be on here, just let me know,
Okay.
So just, Jocelyn, a question, looking at the first item on the agenda, was there any, feedback received from the first one that we should know about as we're getting ready for the second one? Maybe I just tuned out for that.
Oh, no, we didn't cover that. No, I just put that on there in case you guys wanted to talk about how March 24th went. I didn't receive any other feedback. I don't know if you did, Tom.
No, I think it's kind of, at the end, they learned a lot, and they also learned, I think some people went into watching this meeting with a different notion of what was going to be presented. And I think they liked what they saw. I know there's some comments on social media before the forum, and it's like, let's vote this thing down. And I think people went into this and they're like, oh, that's not exactly what I thought it was going to be. And it's actually good, I think. I didn't see any negative.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, well, it's good to know.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
I thought it went well.
Yeah, and I do think that the videos is helpful to continue the positive messaging that, it doesn't, the town is not going to pay for the construction of these things. And
Right.
it doesn't depress property values. And, it's an investment. I love that line about it's not charity, it's an investment, because here's all the pluses for the town.
Yeah, and I
So-
think seeing all the things that other towns have done and that they're not big and ugly and is a big plus too.
Yeah, Veronica, you brought that up, I think, last night at zoning, and
Mm,
you mentioned how well it has been done in other towns like Kent and
yeah, I
Falls
mean,
Village or Canaan and
Salisbury.
it's
Salisbury. Yeah.
beautiful. I have to admit, I was on that, oh my God, affordable housing, when you think of it, it doesn't, but now that I've been educated about what's possible, it's, I feel totally different.
Great. So yeah, so we will put a link to that in the invite for the May 25th forum. And yeah, feel free to share it, post it on Facebook, use it in whatever way you'd like.
Okay.
There's also a link. I mean, I think you have the link to it, right, Tom? Or no?
The video?
The video, it's
Yeah.
by itself?
I believe so.
If
Yeah,
not,
it was in one of your emails.
okay. And oh, right, yeah, from that email.
It's the YouTube video
Yeah.
Mhm.
link. Yep.
And then the only other thing I wanted to mention, I don't know, Veronica, were you at the Fifth Thursday forum that we had
Yes. Mhm.
on a Wednesday?
Yep.
So if any of you are interested, who weren't there, we did a regional housing needs assessment, which is a variation on the theme of your, Morris housing needs assessment, but really includes data for all 21 towns. So towns can compare themselves to some of their neighbors, for example. And I can send that around. I'll send around the slides from it in case you want to take a look at it. But what I'm thinking is that that could be an appendix to your plan for anybody who wants more information about, the region as a whole.
Yeah, I'd like to get that to P and Z. That would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I'll email that around, those slides around.
There was
and
one.
Yep.
Sorry.
Go
No, it's kind of funny. After the last forum, there was an article in the Waterbury Republican. And it stated how Morris was so far behind all of its neighbors with affordable housing. They failed to mention where our neighbors were at. I mean, it was kind of, yeah, we're at 2.4 or whatever, but look at this town and they're way behind
Yeah.
us. But
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's too bad they didn't do a little more research.
that was after the last Morris Community Forum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I know. I read it and I was like, I wanted to call John and say, I didn't really say what you said I said. All I did was read a page. But what he said I said wasn't bad. So I was like, I don't have time for this.
I know. Yeah, I mean, you can't, some of those, reporters, you wonder.
Yeah.
where
Does
they
it
get-
again. I'm going to call him and go, did you record it? Did you listen to it? Are you an actual reporter, John?
All right, so I think we talked about everything we need to talk about today. The next meeting of this group is the 13th of May, the second Thursday, 5:30. And yeah, again, at that, we can prepare for the 25th. Maybe we'll try to get the invitation out before then, just so people have a couple weeks notice. But anything else anybody else wants to talk about before they go outside and enjoy the last rays of sunshine?
I mean,
I
before the
hate
next
to tell
meeting.
you,
For the
the
next
reason
meeting,
we haven't
right.
heard the cat
Oh.
tonight is because I'm on the deck. He's in the house.
Ah,
Ah,
Tom, when's your next meeting?
There's two at 7 o'clock.
Oh,
We got wetlands and Board of Finance.
oh, fun.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a splendid time.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you guys all for your time.
Thanks, Jocelyn.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Jocelyn, for everything.
Talk to you
Bye.
soon.
All right, bye guys. See you. Enjoy spring. Woohoo.
Woohoo.